Hello, everyone. My name is Shariel Hugh, and I will be giving you a walkthrough on the Hawaii Rangeland Information Portal, or HRIP. What you see here is the homepage to HRIP, and if you scroll down a little, you'll see statewide conditions. So the first thing you see at the top is the ENSO gauge, which tells you whether we're in a La Nina, a neutral phase, or an El Nino. And I will go into more detail of that in a second. But for now, we also have the windy widget that gives you 24-hour weather forecasts, as well as the US Drought Monitor that gives us statewide drought conditions on a weekly basis. If you scroll down some more, you'll see site-specific conditions. Here, you could click on this interactive map and zoom into the region of your choice or select the island on this drop down here. And then you'll see these red squares across the island. So each square is clickable and it will take you to or show you a pop-up with a link attached to it. So if we click on this link, it will take you to a website, a ranch page with data that is dedicated to that square. So let's click on RID or Ranch ID 3. And you'll see at the top ranch ID 3 ranch page. So each ranch page looks something like this. And on the left here, you'll see a menu, and the main components of a ranch page is the dashboard, Rainfall Outlook, Decision Support Tool, and Average Climate Conditions, which are these 5 variables here. So first, let's look at the dashboard. We created this dashboard with the idea that you can kind of look at this and see the near real-time information that you need in a relatively quick fashion. So at the top here, you see rainfall and temperature. So both of these have a button here where you can click and toggle between daily and monthly. So I'm recording this on January 22nd, and I can see how much or what the temperature was yesterday for my site that I clicked on, so RID 3. As you can see, they got on average 70 degrees and minimum 62 and maximum 77 degrees yesterday. If you click on monthly, you also see last month's conditions. So this in December 2023, this site also got 70 degrees on average. And this value here shows you how that compares to a typical December. So last month was a 1 degree, almost 1 degree higher or hotter than typical December. The same goes for rainfall, where you can see daily and monthly. As of right now, daily rainfall has not yet been released, but it is coming soon. And with that, you'll be able to see how much rainfall your site got yesterday, as well as consecutive dry days. And we do have monthly rainfall available right now. So for this site in December, it got 1.07 inches of rain, which is, as you can see here, negative 40%. So 40% less rainfall than a typical December. So we also give you kind of an indicator to show that it's below average. And once daily rainfall is available, we'll also be able to calculate how many dry days this site got. Below this, you'll see a 12-month drought history. So we calculate drought based on historical rainfall measurements, and we produce what's called the standard precipitation index. And what you see here is if it falls in this red region, this red square here, it indicates that it's a drought. So, and the more negative or the lower that value is, the more severe the drought is. So for this site, in the last 3 months has been in a drought. And we also provide, again, this a drought severity index for current conditions for this site is abnormally dry, as you can see for December 2023 here. Then you'll see that ENSO gauge that we saw earlier here. I'm going to zoom in a little, and what you'll see is that we're in a strong El Nino right now. and we provide an outlook based on historical observations over the last 50 years. So historically, this site has received 2.43 inches of rain in January. However, with the strong El Nino in mind, we've seen that Januaries with strong El Ninos together have seen an average of 1.41 inches of rain. And during those observations, we've seen a minimum rainfall of 0.23 inches of rain in a January during a strong El Nino. So this is updated on a monthly basis, as well as the 12-month drought history. And then we also have the daily and monthly rainfall and temperature values that will be updated on an automatic basis. Moving on to the rainfall outlook, you'll see the gauge again. So again, we're in a strong El Nino. And similar to the January strong El Nino statistics here, this graph shows you similar rainfall outlooks for this month and the next 2 months. So if you click on the graph, you'll get a pop-up so you can see the image more clearly. And as you can see, so in January, again, you'll see the first bar shows the average for all Januaries. The second bar here shows the average for Januaries and strong El Ninos we've seen. And then the third bar is the minimum rainfall we've seen in a strong El Nino in January. So that is also shown for the next 2 months, assuming that we stay in a strong El Nino. Next, we have the Forage Decision Support tool. So here we ask you to input 2 types of information. First is the grass type. So if you select this dropdown, you can select the grass type of your site, as well as conditions of your forage, whether improved or unimproved. So if your site has been going through some drought and seen some unimproved or not good conditions in your forage, you may select unimproved. Otherwise, you may select improved. And when you hit submit, you'll be taken to the decision support tool on forage production. So what you see here is a table of estimated forage production. What we've done is we've inputted the grass type, the condition of your forage, as well as rainfall conditions for your site, and populated it into the 528 tool created by the NRCS. And so what you see is this first row is the average production, and that is given the average amount of rainfall this site typically receives, for instance, in January, February, and March. So that would be the first bar you see here. We inputted this rainfall amount to get the first row of values. Then, given that we're now in a strong El Nino, we calculated the forage production based on the rainfall on this site during a strong El Nino. So that would be the second bar here. So as you can see, since we expect less rainfall for this site because we're in a strong El Nino, we also anticipate less forage production. So we estimate for January that this site could get 8% less production compared to the average production value. And then we also calculated that minimum rainfall and found that this site could get up to 52% less production compared to the average. So we provide that information for the next 2 months as well. And if you'd like, you can also view the 6-month outlook. However, this is under the assumption that strong El Nino persists for 6 months, which may not be the case. Next month, we could shift into a weak El Nino, and these numbers may change. So it is advised to check on this decision support tool on a monthly basis, since this ENSO phase may change and the values may change. Finally, we have average climate conditions. These are statistics and climate variables that you may be interested in looking at and can reference at any time. So for instance, we have here rainfall. We have monthly and daily rainfall when available. And on this right here, you'll see the last 12 months of rainfall. This blue rectangle is the monthly average, and the orange is what we saw in the last 12 months. So as you can see in December, again, this site received 1.07 inches of rain, while the average was 1.75. So it received less rainfall than the typical average, while back in March, the observed was much higher than that blue rectangle, so much higher than average for this month. You can also click on this map here. This red square shows you the square that we clicked on earlier, what this entire page is referencing to, and you can get an idea of how spatially what the island conditions look like on rainfall. And you can also see historical rainfall values that we've seen since 1920. So you can also interact with this graph here to see, say, zoom into since 2000, and you can see you can potentially look at drought periods or periods of heavy rainfall. So we also have temperature, and we also have evapotranspiration and NDVI, which is a index of greenness. Just for your reference, if you'd like to look into it. We also provide a text with some resources that you can refer to if you're interested in it. And lastly, we have the drought history. So the past, since 1920, we can provide you with historical drought information for you to look at, just to understand at what periods you may have seen similar droughts, for instance. And I would also like to emphasize again that for our index, which is SPI 3 here, the more negative the drought is, or the number is, the higher or more severe that drought may be. So that concludes the tour to HRIP. I hope you got the gist of how this site works and how you can get data for your site or your ranch as easily as possible. I'd like to emphasize that this site is in beta, so we're still continuously making fixes, changes, and we love your feedback. If you have any questions, concerns, suggestions, please reach out or feel free to join us at the Q&A session so that we can get your feedback and we can reflect it on our website, make these changes so that it is as useful as possible to you. Also, I'd like to emphasize that this map here with the red squares, we can add more of these red squares. So if your site is not reflected on this map, please do not fret. We have a form for you to submit your site. So you can access this form from that email confirmation you got. And when you open it, you can zoom into your area of interest. And if you just click on it and hit submit, we will get that and we can upload it or update HRIP so that that red square shows up for you as well, and you can get that ranch page. You're also able to submit as many points as you like. There's no limit, so please feel free. However, if you are submitting more than 1 point, this form is only able to handle 1 point at a time. So if you could submit 1 point, hit submit, and then refresh the form so that you can submit more. If you could do that, please, that would be greatly appreciated. And we will get back to you, or we will get the sites updated on the homepage as soon as possible. So thank you so much for your interest in HRIP, and we're looking forward to seeing you at the Q&A session.